But we begin with the weather. Today, the next few days, and the next few decades. It's hot, record-breaking hot in some places, and in broad terms, with the capacity for wild variation, this is what the future will feel like, and trending warmer. Coming up, we explore the future with Dr. Judy Lawrence, Senior Research Fellow at the Climate Change Research Institute and co-chair of the Climate Change Adaptation Technical Working Group. It is a sobering interview that is just ahead. But let's begin with the here and now. Chris Brandolino, Principal Scientist Forecasting at NIWA, with the very obvious fact it is indeed unusually hot.
We've been looking at temperatures, mean temperatures for the month of January. Some places like Auckland and Whanuapai or Auckland, Western Springs, Motat, looking at their warmest mean January temperature on record. Records still do vary, going back to some places 40s and 1960s. Mangere right now is on track for their second warmest January on record, with mean temperatures 2.4 degrees above the long-term average. And it's not just the upper North Island, it's right the way through. Kelburn on track, that's Wellington, on track for the warmest January on record, with the mean temperatures so far through 22 days more than 3 degrees above average. And it's, of course, the South Island also seeing some very warm temperatures, and some places seeing temperatures 3 to 4 degrees warmer than what they usually are during the month of January.
Right, these are extraordinary figures, and the one that's been gripping me is temperatures north of 30 in Invercargill. Is that stuff we've just not seen much before ever?
No, you don't see much of that at all. I mean, and you mentioned Invercargill. They're on track for their warmest January on record. Records go back to 1905. They're looking at 3.3 degrees at the moment above the January long-term average. That may fluctuate as we go through the month, may go higher, may go lower. And this is coming off, let me remind the listeners that this is coming off the second warmest December on record for the country. So NIWA uses a 7-station series. That's our way of evaluating the nation's temperature, not individual locations. We take 7 stations, as the name would suggest, from the top to the bottom, and we average them out, and we get a kind of a nationwide indication of what the flavor was for a particular month. December was the second hottest on record, and records go back to 1909, and 2017 was the 5th warmest year on record for New Zealand, using the aforementioned 7-station series.
And 2016 was the warmest, wasn't it? Am I right there?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So you have 2 years. That's an excellent point. You have 2 years, top 5 finishes. So a dubious distinction, I suppose.
Yeah, and where are we heading? What are we heading? What are we looking for if you are able to look into the crystal ball for us? How's February looking?
Well, let's talk about the rest of January, if I can. So this weekend, so it's going to be hot. So tomorrow on Thursday, looking at some of our forecasts for tomorrow, a lot of places across the South Island will be quite warm. Low 30s, likely Alexandra. Likewise, we'll find temperatures near 30 Ranfurly. Queenstown will be quite warm tomorrow, 28, maybe nearing 30. And Christchurch, 32 likely, at least for tomorrow. And some places in the South Island may get as high as 35, 36 degrees in the east of the South Island. Interior sections, North Island, Masterton tomorrow could approach 32, 36 degrees. Wouldn't be surprised, a bit of a respite on Friday, slightly cooler. We're talking slightly. Then I think it's the real heat, the apex. That'll come over the weekend into Monday and Tuesday, long weekend for the upper North Island, where temperatures will likely could be the hottest air of the summer coming for the South Island. Not so much the North Island. The humidity will be for the North Island, but for the South Island, in particular interior sections, the weekend, and especially Monday, Tuesday, we're talking mid-30s for many locations, and I think this will really be the climax of the heat as we work away into the latter half of the weekend into early next week.
Gosh, they're phenomenal temperatures, and in the context of the year temperatures in 17 and 16, they are sobering, aren't they? And the other thing, can we talk about nighttime temperatures? It's just simply not getting cool, is it?
Yeah, well, that's right. This is a function of humidity. So when we're an island nation, and we're really susceptible to how the seas go around us. And the seas have been unusually warm going back to November. They continue to be unusually warm. So that kind of keeps us warm. We kind of bask in that warmth, if you will. But more importantly, perhaps, our air, because of La Nina is a global climate driver. Just like economists look for drivers that will drive the economy, spending, so on and so forth, meteorologists, climatologists look for things that drive the weather day to day, and La Nina, which is the opposite of El Nino, is one of them. When we have La Nina, we get a lot of north and northeast winds, and that's not a cold wind. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or a NIWA scientist to know that. If your air is coming from a lower latitude to the north in our part of the world, that's coming from the tropics and subtropics. That carries warmth, that carries humidity, and that's what we have been seeing for a good part of the summer. And the humidity is really starting to be a real big issue, and it doesn't cool off on that because of that humidity, and that really prolongs the effects. I mean, it's one thing if it's hot during the day, but if you can get some relief during the overnight, it kind of sets you up for at least a bit of a break, but it hasn't happened.
Thanks, Chris. So this is extraordinary. That's just the rest of January. I don't know how far into February you can see. What can you tell us about February?
We're looking at a very active start to the month of February, potentially very active. We're going to be watching the tropics. The conditions for tropical cyclones and overall storminess will be ramping up late January, early February, and that could produce not only more humid conditions, but locally, well, not even locally, widespread heavy rain events are a distinct possibility as you work away into the start of February. That's something we need to keep our eyes on first half of Feb.
That's Chris Brandolino, who's the principal scientist forecasting at NIWA. So that is the here and now. In a moment, we are going to look big picture, climate change and what is happening to New Zealand over the next few decades. But before that, Auckland's Mission Bay Beach a short time ago. Zach Fleming and our cameraman Nick Munro were there, and they asked beachgoers what they make of all the heat.
Too hot for me to deal with, but everyone else is enjoying it. The wife and the kids are out there in the water, they're having a ball. It's a lot hotter than it has been, yeah, and years been gone. Yeah, definitely.
Are you worried about that continuing?
Well, I'm down home because we haven't got any rain and we need rain badly. So, yeah, it may continue, I don't know.
How bad do you need it?
Desperately. Farmers are going dry and things aren't looking too flash at the moment down there in the Naki.
So, if we said 2020 election, would climate change be one of your big concerns?
Probably is, yes. Yep, would be. Yep, for sure.
Thanks, I love being hot because if it's going to be summer, you might as well have some heat because we have a horrible winter and lots of rain, and it's nice to finally be able to just relax and enjoy the heat.
Is this too much heat?
I think you need, because you can only take it in small doses, especially with the little kids. So, and getting dehydrated quite easily. So that's why we had a swim. And now we've just got an ice cream and sitting under the tree, and it's fantastic.
Well, I'm finding it very humid. It's the humidity that gets me, and it really makes you feel very tired.
I burn easier, and I don't normally burn back in the UK. But here, I find I'm burning quite easy.
This is muggy, yeah. This is different. This climate's different than we've had before. Reminds me of the tropics more.